Hello, everyone. Welcome to my response to the Oscars. It was overall a pretty boring year for it, but there was one pretty exciting moment, which we'll get to at the end. But first, let's go through each of the categories and talk about the winners. So, first, I'm going to talk about the original screenplay here. Uh, my prediction for it was Licorice Pizza, that it seemed like the favorite going in, but Belfast uh, had ended up winning. Um, for a lot of these, I think the favorites early on when they first named it seemed like shoe-ins, and then because there was so much time between when they were nominated and then when the award show actually happened and when the votes had happened, um, things changed during that time. Different campaigns picked up more momentum, and I think this was one of those cases. It's cool to see Kenneth Branagh win an Oscar. I like him. He played one of my favorite characters in Harry Potter, Gilderoy Lockhart. When he was giving his acceptance speech, I thought he needed a painting of himself painting a painting of himself behind him to look even better. But it's still nice to see him win it. Uh, Going on to adapted screenplay, the winner ended up being Coda. That's what I had predicted. I think, again, if we'd done it 2 months ago when the nominations were first named, I think it would have likely gone to either Power of the Dog or Dune. Power of the Dog was just the big thing when they were first nominated. Um, it would have won in a lot of categories. I think when they first named it, I would have said Dune for most of the technical ones and then Power of the Dog for most of the other ones. But by the time of the awards, Power of the Dog lost a lot of its hype. Dune was also considered to be an unadaptable screenplay, and they did a great job of it, so that also had a chance for it. But I'm okay with Coda winning it. I don't think it necessarily had like the best screenplay, but still they had to write in non-speaking roles, deaf uh, actors and characters um, into the movie, which I think does give it some credence for being a pretty interesting screenplay. Moving on to visual effects, this one was Dune all the way. Like I said, the technical awards, even like 2 months ago, I would have said Dune for most of them, and still at the time of the award show, Dune was worth getting most of them, anyways. Sound, again, same thing. Dune was right in there. I think this one was maybe a little bit more open. Power of the Dog had a chance, and West Side Story being a musical that could get attention for sound. But still, I went with Dune, and that's what the Academy went with too. Short film, all the shorts I don't really know that much about, so I mainly went with what were considered as the favorites going in. The Long Goodbye, I think, was the favorite going in, but I also was able to make a rational reasoning for it, being that Riz Ahmed was attached to it, and he's well known in the Academy, and people would want to see him give his speech. Sadly, they cut a lot of it short because it was one of the ones that was filmed ahead of time, which I wasn't a big fan of them doing that, but I'll talk about that at the end more so. Moving on to short film animated, this one of the few that I got wrong. It went to The Windshield Wiper, which is more of an adult short film. I had gone with Robin Robin. Seemed like the favorite to me. I think that's probably the most well liked by children, but obviously the Academy is all adults, and they decide to go with The Windshield Wiper. Production design, this is another one of the technical ones that seemed like it had to go to Dune. I think the only other ones that had a chance in this one would have been Nightmare Alley for what they did, and then West Side Story, maybe. But I think it was mainly between Dune and Nightmare Alley. But Dune was my choice all the way. Now for Best Picture, the big one of the night. this one the ones that I got wrong. I still stuck with The Power of the Dog. I thought it would still end up with a lot of votes for it because it just seems like the best movie of all of them. I think in the future when we look back, like I don't think Coda's going to be like disliked or anything like that, but I think we'll look back and say that probably Dune or Power of the Dog should have won it that year. But it's not like as egregious as some years. I think it's kind of similar to the King's Speech winning in 2010. Like it's a pretty likable movie. It's good. I think everyone can see that it's good. But there was other movies that probably stand the test of time better. Moving on to the next one, music original song. This one was No Time to Die all the way. I think had they gone with We Don't Talk About Bruno, that would have had a better chance against it. I think during the performances they had a live performance of We Don't Talk About Bruno, and it just seems so much better than the Dos Orejitas performance, and made me wonder like why they didn't put that one forward as their the one that they were campaigning for it. I have to think that maybe because it was a foreign language one, like they were hoping some people would give it votes for that, like the Latino crowd maybe would give it higher votes, but I don't know. It seemed like a poor decision. No Time to Die, though, obviously was amazing. Billie Eilish's performance at the Oscars was great to watch. She did a fantastic job singing it. Moving to the next one, music original score. This is another one of those ones that seemed certain it was going to Dune. The only other one that had a chance, I think, was Power of the Dog, and that would be more like a legacy one because Johnny Greenwood, I think, for There Will Be Blood, a lot of people said that was the best score of that year, but it wasn't qualified to go into the 2007 Oscars because he had written it ahead of time. I'm not entirely certain how it worked out, but it wasn't acceptable for in that Academy Award year, and most people would have given it the best original score back then. But they decided to go with Hans Zimmer for Dune, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because I do think it is the best score of these five. Makeup and hairstyling. This is another one where it's like when they do stuff to change people's complete appearances, like Jessica Chastain playing Tammy Faye did not look anything like Jessica Chastain. That always seems like for sure that's going to win it. I think the only other one that did something kind of like that was House of Gucci with Jared Leto. But that movie isn't very well liked, so I think having the eyes of Tammy Faye there, they had to go with that. Dune also could have maybe had a chance there. There was a few interesting makeup decisions there, but it just isn't to the level of the eyes of Tammy Faye. International feature film. This is another easy one. Like Drive My Car was up for Best Picture, so it was most likely going to be the winner here. I have heard people say that Worst Person in the World might actually be better. That seems to be the consensus, that more people seem to like The Worst Person in the World. But Drive My Car obviously got the Best Picture nomination, so there's no going wrong with that one. Film editing. This is another one of the technical ones that figure had to go to Dune. There were other ones that had a chance. This was a bit more of an open technical one. King Richard, it's a sport movie. They tend to do well with the editing. And also just film editing in the Oscars. For some reason, they always go to the movies that have the most cuts, it seems like. So like King Richard and Tick, Tick, Boom, which is a music one. Like they both have a lot of cuts in it. So typically those ones would win, but Dune just like it's a long movie and they made it feel like well paced despite how long it is. So I think that's absolutely the right decision. Documentary short subject, again, the shorts, I mainly just went with the favorites, and the favorite was Queen of Basketball. I don't know that any of the other ones really were in consideration. Maybe Audible. That's the only other one that I had really heard about before the Oscars, so that one had a chance. But Queen of Basketball was the favorite, so I went with it. Documentary feature. This one, uh, Summer of Soul, seemed obvious to me because of Questlove being attached to it. I do think Flea and Ascension had some chance of getting it, but just reasoning Questlove being attached to it, he's done the music at the Oscars the last couple of years. I figured like everyone in the Academy likes him and would vote for him. Directing, I went with Power of the Dog right from the beginning, and so did the Academy. It seemed like I don't know that anyone else really had a chance. Maybe Spielberg for West Side Story, just because of the name attachment to it. But Power of the Dog was such like a masterful film, and the only chance that it had of losing would be if Dune had been nominated. I feel like something had to go wrong that Denis Villeneuve didn't get nominated for Dune, because like it won the most awards at the Oscars this year, and all the technical parts of it are like so masterfully done. And like everything else in it's also great. Like the screenplay got nominated and had a chance at winning. The acting was maybe like the one thing that held it back, because everyone's playing such subdued roles that's the only reason that it's not that flashy for acting. But I have to feel like everyone that was voting for these just figured like, oh yeah, Dune's getting in for sure. Let me nominate someone who I would like to see get in there. And then so many people thought like that it somehow ended up falling out and being like sixth or something, just short of the list. But I do think Jane Campion was a deserving winner for The Power of the Dog. Costume design went to Cruella. A movie that's about costume design, really, or about fashion, so it just made sense for that one. Though all of them could have easily been in there. I think Nightmare Alley, being a period piece, had a definite chance. Same with Cyrano, and even West Side Story. Dune, I think, had really cool costumes, but it's not really the type that they would normally award there. Which is unfortunate, because I think the whole look of Dune was incredible. Cinematography, this one had to be Dune. Just Greg Fraser's like super hyped up right now. He's doing really well. He did the cinematography for Batman and for The Mandalorian, I believe, as well. So he's just got a lot of hype around him right now. I don't know that any of these other ones really had a chance. Maybe Power of the Dog, and maybe Nightmare Alley, but it was pretty clearly Dune for that one. Animated feature film. This one had to go to Encanto, because it's the big Disney movie, and it's super well liked and popular. And all the other ones have like something going against it, I feel like. The only other one that I think maybe had a chance was Mitchell's versus the Machines, because it's Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and like they did Into the Spider-Verse, which won a couple years ago. But I think it had to be Encanto. Actress in a supporting role. This one went to Ariana DeBose. I think she was the favorite from the beginning right to the end. I don't think I've seen any other of these actresses' names really come up in contention. Like maybe Kirsten Dunst a little bit, but it was all Ariana DeBose right from the beginning to when the Oscars happened. So that one wasn't too much of a surprise. Actress in a leading role. This one was actually more open than I thought it was going to be. I went with Jessica Chastain. She wasn't the favorite back when the nominations first happened. I think the favorite was probably Kristen Stewart. But since then, Jessica Chastain won a lot of the awards. But then just in the last little while before the Oscars, like some of the votes leaked, and all the votes that leaked had Penelope Cruz being voted for. So she became the favorite just before the Oscars were happening. But still ended up going to Jessica Chastain. So I was thankful for that since that's who I picked. Actor in a supporting role, this one was Troy Kotsur all the way. It was so great to see him win it. Like the speech he gave in sign language was incredible. I thought it was like really funny when now I can't remember the person who won supporting actress last year who handed out the award. I can't think of her name right now. Handed him the Oscar, and he just kind of stood there because he can't speak. He's deaf, and he couldn't sign because he's holding the Oscar. So he was just like, I don't know what to do, pretty much. And they had to take it back from him so he could give his speech with his hands. It was pretty funny in that moment, and then he gave a great speech, really well deserved. The only other people who really gave him a run for his money was Cody Smith-McPhee. He had some hype to him. There's a lot of fans of his performances. I really liked his performance, but I was really glad to see Troy Kotsur win it. And then actor in a leading role, here's where we have Will Smith, who was the biggest talk from the show in general. He had his moment where he got up and slapped Chris Rock, which my thoughts on that are that I think what Chris Rock said was a slappable offense. I think if we had heard after the show that like Jada or Will had slapped him for that joke backstage afterwards, like we would have been like, yeah, he probably had that coming, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But because it happened in front of all the viewers and on stage there, it became a really big deal. And also with all the build up behind what had been going on with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith in their personal life, I think Will Smith would say that he regrets doing it. Like, I don't think that was the best option. There was definitely better ways he could have handled that. Like, he could have just, if he got up on stage, he could have just like whispered in his ear, like, hey, that wasn't cool or something. Or he could have saved it for after the show, or for during his speech, he could have said something then. But I completely understand his anger, and I don't hold anything against him really. And props to Chris Rock for how well he handled that. He's a complete professional there. The joke wasn't even that good of a joke, though, and he should be kind of ashamed of himself for even saying that one in the first place, because like it wasn't even a good joke. But Will Smith, I think, was deserving of his Oscar, and I'm glad that they didn't kick him out of the show. I think if Will Smith really wanted to make a statement, he could have just left the show on his own, like not slapped Chris Rock and just got up and left, and then they wouldn't have had their actor for leading actor there to accept his award, and it would have been kind of on the Academy for allowing that joke to be told in the first place. And then his speech, there were parts of it that I liked, parts I didn't like. I didn't like his justifications for what he was doing, and like saying that like Richard Williams was a staunch defender of his family, and so that's why he did it. And like I don't really agree with that, but I do. It was great to see the emotion on him and see someone that we've watched for like 30 years just going through this moment, and I think he probably grew from this. I think he definitely realizes that what he did was wrong. Like he had the wrong reaction to it. So it was interesting, and that was the biggest moment of the whole night. So I don't really blame him for any of it, really. I think they both are in the wrong, really. And that was the excitement of the Oscars. The decision to film some of the categories ahead of time I didn't like, and like the whole show like dragged on for way too long despite them doing that. and there's just like too many other little things they were trying to do in it, like um, the hosts like Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes and Regina Hall, I think is the other lady's name. Um, I didn't care for any of their bits really. Um, and I could have done without them. I think all the Oscars really need is an announcer to announce the next category and go through to that, show clips from it. Like that'll keep people watching it. Like they're there to see the awards be awarded. They're not there to see someone make bad jokes. um, and that's what I hope they'll fix going forward. Just tighten up the show a little bit. We don't need all the little bits and in between stuff. Just focus on the awards. I hope that next year's better. I probably won't post anything on this channel for a while again. I don't know what will be next, if I come up with anything for on this channel, or if it won't be until next year's Oscars. I'm not sure. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching.